In this quick start video, I will show you how to use the snap in RoutCad. The default snap setting is center, midpoint, and endpoint. Midpoint is always the midpoint of a line. Now I am ready to draw a line. If I click, I go to the midpoint of the line. I click the right mouse button to stop drawing line. If I go close to the endpoint, I will snap to the endpoint of that line. Center only applies to circle or arc. So if I go close to the center of that arc and I click, my line starts from the center of that arc. Midpoint, endpoint also applies to arc or circle, and it also applies to parabola. I will draw a full circle to show you how endpoint applies to a full circle. To draw a full circle, I do Ctrl-Alt-C, and I will check center point plus radius, and I click continue. Now I will press F3 to disable the snap. I click for the center of my circle, I drag my mouse, and I click again to define the full circle. Now I press F3 again. Now in a full circle, the full circle starts at 0 degree and finishes at 360 degree. And it has an endpoint at 0 degree. So if I want to draw a line, I do Ctrl-Alt-L, and I will go and these options are selected endpoint. So if I click close to the circle, it will go to the endpoint of the circle, which is where the start of the circle begins. You'll notice the arc doesn't have that. The arc only has a center over there, and the beginning of the arc is whatever that arc is over there, and whatever that arc is, finish. So a full circle start at 0, finish at 360, and this arc start at another angle, which is -104, and finishes at 90 degrees down, 90 degrees. Now, a full circle also has a center that you can click to. Now, if I want to snap to the grid, I will check grid. And you notice that all the other snap options disappear. This is because there's a star beside grid. If I uncheck grid, whatever was there before reappear. So I'm going to check grid, and I will go to option grid to display the grid. Now I can use the grid to help me draw my objects. I will uncheck grid and hide the grid. There is also snap to vertex. Snap to vertex only applies to parabola. It is the highest point of the parabola. So if I go close to my parabola and I click, I go to the vertex, I go to my other parabola, I click again, I go to the other vertex of my parabola. Snap nearest. It applies to all objects. It is simply the closest point to the object that the mouse is to the object. And also you notice that there's a star beside snap nearest. So when you check snap nearest, all the other snap options that were there before disappear. When you uncheck it, they will reappear. There is also snap tangent. Now snap tangent applies only to a parabola or an arc, but it's only when you draw a line that you can be tangent. So I will uncheck this other snap option because there's too many snap options on, and it's going to be confusing for the program. So I will leave endpoint, for example, and I will draw a line that is tangent between this point and that parabola. So I will click on that, so I have my line, and now I'm going to be tangent to this parabola. So I click on that parabola, and there you go. That line becomes tangent to that parabola. It is the same thing if I want to be, let's say, tangent to that arc. I click on this line, and I bring my mouse close to this parabola, and I click. Now I become tangent to this parabola, so to this arc. So that line, as it's going up, it will touch, it will connect to a point on this arc that is tangent to the arc. Now there's also another snap option that we have is snap intersection, and it is the same principle. When you have snap intersection on, because of the star, it disable all the other snap option that were there before, and when you uncheck it, the snap option that were there before reappear. So we'll be drawing another line. We'll press F3 to disable the snap. We'll draw another line, and we'll press F3 to enable the snap. We'll bring that our mouse close to this intersection, and we'll click, and we'll click close to that other intersection. So we have a line that is going between these two intersections. There's also point. If you want to draw lines using point, you can use point as a guide to draw a line. We go to the point and we click. We keep on clicking to the point to draw lines. So to summarize, the options for the options for snapping, the options that apply to lines are midpoint and endpoint. To arc and circle is endpoint and center. To parabola is endpoint and vertex, and obviously you can snap to point. Now snap nearest applies to all objects, and intersection is drawing a line between the intersection of two objects, and tangent is only works with arc, circle, and parabola, and it's only when you draw a line is the second point of that line that can be tangent to one of these objects.